Second Look Sports Podcast. I'm your host today, Justin Arnberg. We're gonna swap roles a little bit today. I'm joined with Alex Mandarino and Brandon Brown. Welcome back to another episode, guys. How's your guys' week been? How's it been?
Well, it's been pretty good. Can't complain. There's been a lot going on, obviously, in the sports world, but it's been really good to soak it all in and obviously catch up with you guys. Weather's getting a bit nicer. We're getting into that springtime, so it's a great period of the year to just, enjoy your life and everything going on around it.
Did you
Yeah.
uh did you either of you guys break out the golf clubs yet?
No, not yet. It's still, I think, a bit too early for that. I think maybe like first week of May, I think is when I, at least personally, start to actually feel the itch. It's still too cold, too wet. I'm not there yet.
First week of May,
Yeah.
that's usually the time when the Maple Leafs are out of the playoffs.
Maybe I'll have a couple of partners to play with then, I guess, once we get there. But
That's funny.
hopefully not. Hopefully not.
Hopefully not. Anyway, Alex, to you, what's your week looked like?
Been good. I worked a couple of Leaf games the past week or so at TSN, and Monday night, girlfriend and a couple of friends went and actually did Friends trivia at a bar downtown. I'm not a huge Friends like watcher. Like I've seen all the episodes. Not my favorite show, but it's one of her favorites, and her friends really dialed in for the trivia, and we ended up winning. So you got
Wow.
like $100 gift card to this bar, and I was playing passenger. I may have had like three answers out of the 45 questions. I was just happy to be there, have a drink, have some food, but I'll tag along if we're gonna win. And like you said, for sports, we're back in the groove. I think things are really turning around. We're recording obviously on a Thursday, the first day of March Madness. We'll get into that, but just excitement all around. I can't wait for the weather, like you said, Brandon, but just some of the playoffs, and it's a great time of the year for sure.
Not a big Friends guy, eh?
No, I'm more of a Seinfeld, How I Met Your Mother fan. Like Friends is good, like I'll throw it on, but it's not my number one. It's not my
Okay.
number one.
You, I've seen all of those shows. So Friends, Seinfeld, what was the other? How I Met
Same.
Your Mother.
How I Met Your
Yes.
Mother.
I would say Friends is somewhere in the middle. Like I like Friends a
No
lot.
way.
It's really good, but I don't think for me personally it's not like the top tier that some people put it in. I think it's a fantastic show, but I think Seinfeld for sure goes above the quality there. So, but
Yeah, I don't know.
still great.
I'm a Friends lover. So you should have recruited me because I've watched I think 7 times through.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, which is a lot, I know. But I've
Who's your
found the show.
character? Who's your guy? Or girl, I
Uh,
should say.
well,
Either one.
I celebrity crush is Jennifer Aniston, so like
Okay.
that's always been my character. But I'm a big Joey and Chandler like duo. Like I
Yeah.
always like the first couple seasons when they're living together. Those are the best seasons with Joey and Chandler living together. Um, but like overall, like those two shows, that and Seinfeld, are the ones that separate themselves for me. I don't know.
Mm.
Like How I Met Your Mother is really good. Big Bang Theory, I would even put up there with sitcoms. But like those two shows are like the go-to shows. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know about you
I could see
guys.
that. I'd
What?
say, I mean, Seinfeld for me is like top notch. I just think the comedy is like, it's just unbelievable. And it started a lot of shows, like the way that shows were structured. And I could rewatch it at all times. Friends, I could too. But I'm just like, yeah, to me, it's just like, it's not the same. I don't know. I just find like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
just
yeah,
not
I
quite the
get it.
same funny wise, but everyone's
I
different.
get
It's
it.
all right.
I
Yeah.
get it. I get it. Okay, well, we have a little bit more show talk later on in the show, actually.
Yeah.
So we'll get into that later, but right off the hop, let's go to a player that hasn't played in the NHL since hoisting the Stanley Cup in 2022. Gabriel Landeskog of the Colorado Avalanche, the captain. Documentary comes out recently saying that he's like obviously, had some struggles, but the whole point of going through these struggles is to get back and play. It's not to just like get back and have a good life. The whole point was for him to come back and compete at the highest level again. He's still the captain of the Colorado Avalanche, even though his message might not be delivered in the same way because he's not in the room all the time. But for you guys, when you saw that, and then to go along with that, we get the footage of him skating and like going hard in practice. Do you have any like I guess, hope that to see him on the ice during the playoffs, because I'm going to eliminate the regular season right now. There's no way that he's going to be on the regular season. To ramp up to where he needs to get to, he needs to be on the ice basically every single day until the playoffs. But do you guys see any scenario where he is on the playoffs?
I mean, yeah, I do, I guess. I think it's more likely to not be in like a top line or second line role. I think he would come in and help like very sparingly, especially early on, to kind of get his legs going and to get him into the new speed of the game. I feel like even just a couple years ago, it's a bit of a different game, and he will have to adjust back to that. But I'm sure he would be able to help in some regards. I'm sure they're obviously pushing to try to get him back if he feels and he gets the go ahead to do it. But yeah, I definitely won't expect to see him until I don't even know. Game one of the playoffs just seems
Do,
still feels like unlikely, but I don't know. I could be wrong.
do you feel like, and maybe Alex, I'll go to you, but do you feel like this kind of just like every time we see this, like this isn't the first time that we've seen videos of Gabriel Landeskog skating in these 3 years, but like every single time it's like, oh, there's new buzz around him coming back, and then it just leads to nothing. Do you guys actually think this is something, or do you think like this is just like hold the or pump the brakes until we actually see some real evidence of him, you know, doing practice multiple days a week instead of just once every week?
Yeah, that's a fair question. I do think this time around, just based on the actual footage, and I know it was only like 20 seconds long, and then there was another one of him basically standing by the net, signaling that he had stayed for the entire practice. He didn't necessarily practice every drill, but he stayed on late to do some extra drills. I think it's the first time he stayed on for the full practice in like years. So he looked quick. He looked like his edges were pretty tight. Now, again, it was like a 20-second clip, and I'm sure his stamina is not up to speed. But I have a little bit more hope that Landeskog will be back sooner rather than later because it has been this roller coaster. Now, there was a Spit and Chicklets interview with Gabe Landeskog, and it was really interesting to listen to. A lot of the time, Spit and Chicklets, they can have their moments of being a little bit like the funny is the aspect of their pod. But in this one, they obviously got serious talking to him. And it was just interesting to hear his perspective. He's had like some really bad days, like understandably. It's been like
Yeah.
3 years, which is insane
It'll be
to
yeah,
think of,
three
right?
three calendar years since in June if he doesn't
Yeah,
play.
if he doesn't
Yeah.
play. So I actually was originally thinking first game of the playoffs, but Brandon, it is fair. Like it's a quick game, jumping right into the playoffs. Game one against Dallas, if that ends up coming to fruition, would be a lot
Yeah.
to take on. But I do see him returning this season at some point. I have like a lot of faith after watching that practice footage.
And I think one thing is important. You guys keep on mentioning the pace of the game.
Yeah.
Okay. There's no better team to probably join and practice with to get up to game speed than the Colorado Avalanche, considering how fast they play the game. And looking at this, even when he was there, the Colorado Avalanche still played the game at a really, really high speed. Like they were one of the fastest teams when he was back playing. So I know you guys are talking about like it's going to take a little bit to get up to game speed, and I totally agree with that, even after he plays a game or two. But there's probably no better team to be practicing and trying to get your legs under you than the Avalanche, considering how fast they are and how fast they play. Like you watched like a lot of their games this season. Can you speak to that? Like just how fast they play the game?
No, they definitely are. I think probably the fastest team in terms of the style that they try to run. They really try to expose teams on the rush and they try to get in deep as fast as they can to make sure that they're able to create space, back up the defense, and then eventually that allows them to kind of work in the zone a little bit more. But I mean, that's the one thing about Landeskog is I think he will eventually be able to get up to speed if they determine he's healthy. It's just when he takes that first bump at that speed and he goes down, what does that look like? And is that
Yeah.
gonna cost him the rest of his career? I hope he is able to get back out there. I just until I see it happen and until I see him do it, to where he A looks comfortable and then B is able to sustain playing in the game that hockey obviously is. Then it will determine kind of how we go. But you're 100% right. Colorado is well equipped to handle today's game and especially even in the playoffs, with or without him. So if they have
Oh
him and
yeah.
he's able to play, it's going to be just another addition to what they've already got going on, right?
I
Yeah,
feel like a
they
lot of people might have Colorado as the Cup favorites right now, with even without him in the lineup.
I would say early on in the year, after they've revamped their whole team, their trade deadline, the only thing stopping them is that they're playing Dallas, where Mikko Rantanen's now sitting.
Yeah.
I know they've made some changes, and if Heiskanen can get back in the lineup, what doesn't now look like he's going to be active for
Yeah, he might
game
even miss
the whole
uh
round,
yeah, he might
right?
miss the complete first round of the playoffs. So,
That's tough because obviously they have a decent blue line. Like Essa Lindell could probably step in and play some extra minutes defensively, but no one has the same skill set as Heiskanen. In that whole series outside of Cale Makar, Devontae's might live up. But that being said, getting off topic, I think the whole idea is because of where his injury was. Like if it was upper body, your legs can handle some of the pace of the game and
yeah.
how quick the game goes, but it was lower body. It was cartilage transplant surgery on his knee. And like the knee is obviously anything in hockey. If you're going to play through it, you're going to play through it. And footage of the doc suggested like he tried to play through it for the first half of the season after he came back in 2023, but like it clearly didn't work. So yeah, you just kind of hope that for his sake, if he does come back, it's at the right time and it doesn't ruin his like even post career. Cause great, you maybe win the finals, but then can he like bend over? He's only 32, I think. So,
Yeah.
you got to
Yeah,
think about
and
it
he's
long
like,
term.
if you watch the Amazon series last year, like he talked
Yeah.
about it like being like it's hard on him and his kids, like he's trying to be a great father. It's just like it's been hard. Um But I do think it's interesting that he's making like the last 2 years there was buzz, but there wasn't like this kind of push. This year, it kind of feels like they are going all in again, and that's the motivation to go out and try and play. Maybe he won't play another regular season game ever in his
Mm-hmm.
career again, and maybe he just plays this last playoff ride out. But I do think that this cup being dangled in front of him possibly is leading to the motivation behind trying to get back in this playoff run. But anyway, talking about playoff runs,
I have one more thought though. I have one more thought on
yeah,
Gabe.
yeah, yeah,
I have
go
one more
ahead.
thought on Gabe. Just because I did a bit of research on like it's been 3 years since he's played, right? Basically. So the
Yeah,
team and like analysts, not just us, analysts have talked about how much of a turnover Colorado's done this year. So the only forwards that have played with Gabriel Landeskog for their Stanley Cup run, like AKA the last time he played, is Nate McKinnon, Arturi Lehkonen, Valerie Nichushkin, and Logan O'Connor. And Logan O'Connor is a fourth line player. So I guess what my question would be is if Gabe plays game one, just hypothetically, who do you think he plays with in that lineup? Is he playing
he
first line with Nate? Like, who would you put him with if he's playing?
he's going first line with Nate. He has to
Yeah.
like that chemistry. Remember, like that chemistry. That was the best line in hockey when it was
Yeah.
Gabe, Miko, and McKinnon. Like that was an unstoppable line. And if you add Gabe to that line, like you still have Natushkin, you still have Ross Colton, you still have Jonathan Drouin, you still have Arturi Lehkonen, you still have Martin Necas.
Yeah.
Like it's their lineup is deep, man. They're and Charlie Coyle as well. Like they're like if you add Landeskog to that lineup, I only think it helps them. Like if you
Yeah.
want to start him on the third line, perfectly fine. But like I do think the first line is where he would fit in the best immediately if you want to see an impact.
I would just say quickly, Brandon, I'm curious your
Yeah,
thoughts
no
too.
worries.
Yeah. I would say throw him with Nate and Lehkonen just for familiarity's sake. Like,
Yeah.
you don't want to throw him with like Brock Nelson and Jack Drury. I know those are
No,
both
yeah, yeah.
centermen, but like you want familiarity. You want familiarity, especially after 3 years. Like you're playing next to Nate. It's just going to be mental. It's going to help his game, I think, a little more. So I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is a level to that where you want him to be comfortable, but at the same time, you don't think he's gonna. I mean, unless you just want to see that first shift or that first period, but there's no way in his first game that he's gonna be up to a 20-minute pace. He's gonna be
Yeah.
playing with the first line throughout the game. And if you're just mix and matching just to get him in with those guys, it might create a bit of a problem. I could see him playing on the power play right away. I could see
Mm,
him, them making changes to their lines to kind of give them some comfortability. But I think in the end, you would see him playing maybe with like a Drouin or Colton as well. I think
yeah.
are guys that he can play with that will still allow him to be offensive, but will also be able to carry him defensively as well if he's not able to right away step into a more impactful role.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. It's a good problem to have for Jared
Oh,
Bednar.
definitely, definitely.
So let's go to the playoff race, because we're building up the playoff hype about possibly seeing another star come back. The playoff race has been insane. Like this year just makes no sense. Like one team looks out, Calgary gets pumped the other night by Toronto, then they go into New York and they absolutely stun them. Like it makes no sense what's happening. Montreal's on a heater, they're in the playoffs. Ottawa looks like they're comfortably gonna be a wild card team. Maybe they catch Tampa Bay or Toronto or Florida, one of the three. But yeah, what's your guys' sense on this overall like playoff push, and like who do you think grabs those two wild card spots in the East?
Oh, the East. Okay. I'm gonna jump in here. I mean, first of all, I want to talk about the Canadian teams, but we'll talk about the East because I think it's important.
Yeah, I just want.
Um,
Yeah. Yep.
no, no, I had like a fun stat. I haven't. I mean, you guys have probably seen something like this or heard it. Like, I'm just pumped for Canada because there's six Canadian teams in the playoffs, and the last time six Canadian teams made the playoffs was 1993. And Justin knows all too well who won in 1993. It was the last time a Canadian team won.
Yeah.
So, not to say that the same results would come, although that team is very hot right now, in the Montreal Canadiens. I think that's cool. The last time seven teams made it was the Sens didn't even exist. I think that was 86. It's like an insane stat, or 80,
Nordiques.
85 or
Nordiques.
86. Nordiques were in, and then not the Sens. I don't think we'll see seven. It would just like Minnesota won last night. Wednesday
Yeah,
night's
they're
impossible, right? They're
yeah.
they're locked in.
They're
In
pretty much like you have to go like I don't know 5-15 down the stretch here, like five and
Yeah,
10, something like that. So yeah,
I don't see them even without some of their key players. Yeah, it's crazy the wild card spot. I mean Detroit has floundered. I've never seen a team in this position drop so badly, especially in a year that they were anticipating like taking a step forward. It just looks horrible. They've 2-8 in their past 10. I see Ottawa snagging that spot, and I can see the Rangers clawing back in. They're only a point out. They have a couple games in hand, and they're way ahead in regulation wins. So as much as I'd
yeah,
like to see the Canadians, they're a good scrappy team, and they're successful. I think those are the two that end up snagging those wild card spots.
yep. I think that's fair. I think that is probably the two favorites right now going into it. Brandon, how about you? What do you look at for the East? Who's making it?
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point I'm ready at least to say that I think Ottawa is not necessarily a lock mathematically, but the way they're playing, the
Yeah,
style of pace that they're playing, I'm happy to say that they're going to be in, I think, and
that's
potentially
scary.
could,
That's
yeah,
scary.
potentially could even impact the Atlantic Division standings if things were to go that way. It would be interesting to see. But in terms of that final spot, I'm gonna give the edge to the Columbus Blue Jackets. I think I've enjoyed
Ooh.
watching them at times this year. They play a big and fun style of hockey, I think, and they've obviously got a lot to play for. There's a lot of emotions going on. I think it'd be great to see them get into the playoffs, and then at that point, things might carry them as far as they will. But they've been a surprise to me, and I think they could be the team to get in. I think the Rangers are a good bet too. The Habs. I'd rather them surprise me and get in than I think
Mm-hmm.
I'm not ready to have expectations for them to get in yet.
Oh
So
yeah.
that's kind of where I'm at there.
I do have to say though, uh, if you're a Montreal Canadiens player or a fan, like that building is probably the best building to play in terms of environment in the NHL at this time of year when you're competing for a playoff spot or you're having a great season. Like that building was so electric on what was it, Tuesday night or Monday night? I think it was no, it was Tuesday night.
I think it's
Uh
Tuesday.
yeah, against Ottawa. And they were down. They looked like after that Hamonic goal to go down 3-2, they looked like that game was over. And just like the Montreal Canadiens have done for a lot of the season, they just don't quit. And they didn't quit, and they find themselves in a playoff spot and actually in a really, really important game tonight against the New York Islanders, who have been trending upwards. And now they find themselves at 70 points, just 3 points out of a playoff spot as well. So on the East is going to be crazy all the way down to all the way down to the buzzer. Like I'm nervous about like what we're gonna actually see because it just feels like everyone's gonna win a game and then lose a game. No one's gonna take a step.
Would love to see Pittsburgh though. Like I know
Yeah,
Yeah.
you like
yeah,
maybe
yeah.
think that they should lose, but I think that it would be fantastic just to see Crosby game one of the Stanley Cup final or Stanley Cup playoffs. Get a matinee against like Carolina or something.
Oh
I
no,
don't
he's gonna
know.
get Ovechkin game one. He can
That
get
was
Oh my
Ovechkin.
exactly.
God, that
That's
would be
exactly right.
insane.
That's exactly right. That's exactly what I want. That Sunday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern start against Ovechkin and Crosby, I think
Well,
would be just a great way to kind of finish it off. I don't think either of them are gonna go. Capitals could go deep, but I don't see the Penguins doing much damage. But it's just having
Mhm.
him there is great.
like he refuses to just go down.
Oh yeah.
There's no like just like okay, we can pack it in for this season, go get a top pick and come back next year. No, it's we're in this till the final game of the regular season, and if we are out by then, we're out. But if we're in, we're in. Like it's just no stop with this guy, and that's why he's one of the greatest players of all time, and dare I
Yeah.
say top five, because that's where I think he is right now. Um, Other than that, though, we have St. Louis in the West, or St. Louis in the West, who's creeped into a pretty good role, even without Pareko, who's been one of their best defensemen of the whole all year. Yeah, what like do you guys think? Like, obviously, I think the West is like Utah suffered a terrible loss on, I think it was Tuesday night as well, to
Yeah.
Edmonton 7-1. They got spanked. Who knows? They'll probably come back and absolutely blow the doors off someone tonight. But if we're thinking about this, the three teams that realistically are in the hunt are for one spot is Vancouver, it's St. Louis, and it's Calgary. Which out of those three teams do you realistically think is going to make the playoffs?
I mean, realistically, I think St. Louis because it's just the
Really?
way that they've been playing since I think I saw a stat that and I wouldn't know the exact games, but since I think it was December when they brought in their new coach from Boston, Jim
Montgomery.
Montgomery,
Yeah.
Yeah.
they've been I think one of the best top five teams in the league. Like it's just been a complete turnaround.
And
It's very reminiscent, dare I say it, of Craig Berube. But I don't think this team has exactly what that team had, which was, bigger, stronger, more established players that were ready to take that next step. This team is just pretty scrappy. And you mentioned Pareko, that deal to bring in Cam Fowler, without him, I don't think they would be in this spot. He's been fantastic for them.
Steady.
And if they had waited a little bit longer, I don't know that they would have gotten him. I think he was not much more than a pick I think for him. So I think it would have been a lot different if he had gotten all the way to the March deadline. But they've impressed me, and I think Vancouver's finding their way a little bit. But
Vancouver had
they
a
would,
big statement win though the other night against Winnipeg. That was a big statement win for them. And Brock Besser scored twice, first time in 13
Twice.
games he scored. But yeah, the one thing I pulled it up. The St. Louis Blues have like the easiest schedule for the remainder of the season as well. So that
Yeah.
is something
okay.
to keep in mind when thinking about this. So like they very well could get in, and I like that pick. How about you, Alex?
Yeah, that was the only thing I was going to point to for St. Louis's favor in that they have, I think, the most favorable schedule. Like the majority of teams they play, I think they have like 14, 15 games coming up, and four of them are teams above 500 or are teams that are in a playoff race or in the play, or sorry, four teams that are currently in the playoffs. Everybody else that they play is out of a playoff picture. So that bodes well for them. I think it really relies Vancouver's chances on Elias Pettersson. He's had a bit of a resurgence of late. I don't have the stats in front of me, but from what I recall, he's been playing a little bit more up to pace. He hasn't been himself for like the year, really after signing that monster deal last year. So it is going to rely on him. They've had like a nightmare season, like just with everything that's going on in the dressing room. Quinn Hughes just looks exhausted. The poor guy is carrying the team on his back. He's obviously a big factor, but I do think it relies on Elias Pettersson. If he can continue his pace, I think they squeak in. Either way, you're probably facing the Jets. So realistically, like
Yeah, but
you
you
did
just
beat the Jets. You did mention that. That is valid.
and that
Um,
like the other like big stat from that game was Connor Hellebuck never gave up 3 goals in a period in the first period at all
yeah,
this year, and then he gives up three to Vancouver. Like
it was
that's
that play
something.
he made. The play he made too. What was that against Vancouver where he like gave the puck away, then had to
Yeah, yeah,
dive
yeah,
and block the
yeah,
puck
yeah.
or
Like
block the
everyone's
shot?
like saving the year. Well, why don't you just not put yourself in that situation in the first place?
Crazy.
So,
I
but
mean,
So
there's
I
yeah.
been a
mean,
few of those in the
Oh
last
yeah.
little
yeah.
bit. It feels like
Oh,
so.
Well,
and like
Crazy.
yeah.
there has to be a conversation soon of like when do you rest him? Like, when do you give this guy a break? Because, like, he's at the point now where he's played like
Yeah.
53 games of their 69 this year. Like, that's a lot of games, and you want him to have playoff success. Like,
And
you can't,
the
like,
thing is,
yeah,
you're especially with his playoffs like success record in the past. Last year, a lot of people were making cases that it wasn't actually Hellebuck's fault against Vancouver or against sorry, with Winnipeg when they lost in the first round. What is it, like 5 games or something?
yeah, they
Um,
got smoked by Colorado.
and his goals again, like all of his numbers were awful. Now people were saying like, oh, he was making the saves he needed to. The point is the record speaks for itself, and they're at 98 points. The closest team in the West is Dallas with 89. Like, unless something crazy happens, I don't see Dallas catching them for that first spot. So you know what, it's a valid point.
Like, give Eric Comrie
Is it
like eight
Comrie? Yeah.
out of these next 15 starts, and just like play him every other game. I know that there's a win record on the line, but like, what do you rather want? The win record in the regular season or a healthy and more refreshed Connor Hellebuck for the playoffs? Because he also played an extra 3 games in Four Nations.
I know.
Those games add up as well. Like, that, and I know we're a little bit sidetracked, but like, this is a very good conversation because Connor Hellebuck looks like he might be starting to get gassed at this time of year. And for Winnipeg Jets, who have cup aspirations and should have nothing less, considering how their team has looked, they should consider resting him. No, like, Brandon, like, do you think, like, realistically right now, the way that he's trending, do you think that this is trending towards another first round disaster for Connor Hellebuck?
I don't think it's trending towards another disaster. I think there's definitely an opportunity where a Vancouver or a St. Louis, a team that will get into that final wildcard spot, comes in and is feeling good about themselves, potentially been playing playoff style hockey for weeks now, right? They come in and maybe give them some trouble, but I'd be surprised if they were to lose so disastrously, just because they do seem like they've taken another step. They are even more dominant, it feels like, than they've been in past regular seasons. So but Hellebuck is the one question mark it feels left with them, is like, can he at least be steady enough to help the rest of the team find their way into the playoffs and get through the first couple of challenges. So I was just looking now. It looks like he's starting tonight against the Oilers, so it'll be interesting to see how he plays, how he's bounced back, and we'll have to just watch to see. I think they will rest him a little bit, just maybe a spot start here or there
Yeah.
for Comrie, a little bit more than what their pace has been, but I wouldn't. I don't think they're going to try to get him off his rhythm. I wouldn't even be surprised if this season he was the one just continuing to push. He's got another Vezina coming up,
Yeah,
it seems
yeah,
like, most likely. I think he is just in. He's been in the zone probably most of this year and wants to keep that going.
yeah.
Hopefully he can find it. Yeah.
He's probably
Yeah.
not gonna. They're not gonna go to him and say, "Hey, do you want to rest?" And he's gonna say, "Yeah, no, I want to take some games off here and like be ready for the playoff." No, no, no. He wants to play. Like, he wants to play. But we're not gonna lie to the fans here. We're not gonna lie to the listeners. We are not dialed in on March Madness. We do not know ball to the point of breaking down every single team for you to listen to. What we do have is our brackets filled out though, and we do have our final fours. So I'll go first. I'll tell you my final
Yeah.
four, and I'll tell you my championship pick. I have Michigan State coming out of the South. I have Florida coming out of the West, and I have Duke coming out of the East, and Houston coming out of the Midwest. That's pretty heavy on the favorites, but I think this is a favorites tournament, and I think that, they're going to win. My favorite to win the national championship, based on what I've read and when I was picking, is Florida. Florida's going to beat Houston, or sorry, they're going to beat Duke in the national championship. Cooper Flag going to make it to the national championship. How about you guys?
Brandon, go for it.
Yeah. I mean, I've also got Duke in there. That's, I think, the only team that I share with you, Justin. I think
Wow.
they have potentially, it looks like, the best player in the NCAA this year, and in Cooper Flag, and should be a force to be reckoned with. I'm also picking Auburn to make the Final Four. I think
That's
they
a
were
good
the
pick.
consensus overall number one pick in the tournament. They've looked pretty good this year, and should be able to find their way. Some of the other, more surprising picks, I'm going to take St. John's. I think they're a great
Yeah,
story.
Nice.
you
I want to
just
see them kind of roll through.
you want to see the Godfather go get
I
a
want to
national
see
championship again.
Yeah, like I actually have them losing in that Final Four matchup to Auburn,
Oh,
but I still think like they're just going to be a fun team to watch, and like you said, it's always good to see Rick Pitino there on the sideline. So I want to see how that goes. And then my Final Four pick is Tennessee. I just kind of
Nice.
like some of their matchups. I somehow found my way to picking them through to the Final Four, and then I have them losing to Duke. I have Duke winning the tournament, beating Auburn in the final there. So it should be really fun. It's been a great start so far.
wow, wow.
I got two brackets, so I'm just gonna read them off back to back. But the one I have in this group, we have a couple of guys from our school reading or who have done a bracket. So from the South, I got Florida. West, I got MSU, Michigan State coming out of here. I have Houston over Duke in my other side of the bracket.
So we have the same Final Four.
But we have different winners because I have Houston over Florida. So I do think
Okay.
Houston is the first year that they get it done. They don't have Jamal Shed like they did in the past. Good Raptor boy. But I do have Houston winning. And in my other bracket, just to kind of close it off, I have Auburn and versus Florida, and I have Alabama versus Houston. I just thought I'd switch it up. I don't want to have the same bracket twice.
Yeah, you gotta cheer for
Um,
different teams, right?
Exactly. And then I do have
That's great.
Auburn taking down Houston. So Houston's still in the finals, but no victory. Now we have a bunch of different teams winning here. So someone hopefully will be able to take the crown. I do agree. I think it's gonna be a favorite this year.
It's gonna be a lot of fun. March Madness always is. I always get like more dialed this time of year, or like watching the tournament. I love
Yeah.
watching it. But yeah, it's always gonna have the madness. Like it's always gonna be there. But anyway, that does it. We'll be back with another after the break here. Yeah, and we're gonna do some new segments. See you then. All right, welcome back from break, everyone, to the Second Looks podcast. What a great first half talking about Gabe Landeskog, NHL playoffs, and March Madness giving away our championship picks. And I just checked at 3:54 p.m. Eastern. I am still in a perfect bracket situation,
Mm-hmm.
so
Nice.
I'm doing pretty good.
Hanging
Uh,
in.
Right after break, let's jump into our second looks weekly segment that we do, where we take a second look at something in sports. And I'll let Brandon go first. He's got a big smile on his face, so I wonder what he's taking a second look
Good.
at.
I'm excited about this one. I've seen this all over social media. Hopefully, you
Oh,
guys aren't thinking the same thing. But this is continuing on March Madness. I don't know if you guys saw this. McNeese State has
Oh,
I guess a student manager, team manager named Amir Aura. They nickname him Aura Khan, and he is insane. He comes out with the team with the big boom box around his neck. He's got the chains, and he's playing the rap music. These guys are going crazy, and they've been on a great run this year. Made it into the tournament, and he's just fantastic. I love watching. I've seen a couple of videos of this guy. They've got a whole feature on him on the CBS broadcast. And he's one of those guys that, obviously loves the game and wants to be around the team. And they've done a great job of including him. And it's just a hilarious situation and story. So he's the guy I've got on my second look. I'm going to be watching, hoping that McNeese can pull out the upset here.
wow. That's a good one. I honestly hadn't seen that, so I'm gonna have to go look up some clips
Yeah,
on
go
that
check it
after.
out.
so
Uh,
on that
yeah, yeah.
before we get to ours, your and I's, Justin, the timing couldn't have been better on that second look, Brandon, because in the break I was watching McNeese is playing Clemson as we're recording right now in the first half. They're on a 14-2 run. They're up 18-8 against Clemson.
Let's
Absolutely
Wow.
go.
dominating. They showed
Wow.
Amir in the stands, so he can't apparently. I'm listening to this now. He can't be on the bench. I guess it's like the rules for the NCAA tournament. So he's in
Right.
the crowd. He's taking pictures with fans. The cheerleaders are wearing high socks with his face all over it. I've never
Really?
seen anything
He's a
like it.
legend. He's a
So
legend. We're going to be talking
he's
about him
fighting.
for
Is he a
years.
freshman or
Yeah.
like what? Is he
No,
a
I
I have
think I
senior?
read
no
that he's a
idea.
senior. Like he's I think been at the school. I think he's
Is this
been
the
the
first
manager
year
for
that
his
they've
second year.
been? Is this like the first year that they
They
made the
were I don't know if they've been in the
tournament a while?
tournament
No,
in the
they were
past. They
there
were.
last year. They
Yeah,
were
Okay,
that's
there
what I was
last
okay.
just
year.
gonna say. Yeah, and he was there, but this year he's taken on. It seems like another persona and is helping the team in a different way. I think he's just a hilarious guy. I've
Damn.
loved following this over the last couple days.
Well, if Clemson goes down, that's my perfect bracket gone. But it's well worth it to
Yeah.
watch this kid. Alex, go ahead with your second look.
Sounds good. I'll go to a sport we actually haven't touched on yet, and that is football, i.e., quarterback season 2 has been announced
Oh,
on
oh.
Netflix. So, for those of you that didn't see it, the first quarterback was following the 2023 season, 2022-23, I believe, with Patrick Mahomes, Marcus Mariota, and Kirk Cousins when he was with the Vikings. This year, they went with Kirk Cousins again, will be back along with Joe Burrow and Jared Goff of the Detroit Lions. So a couple different looks. Obviously, the same guy in Kirk Cousins. His storyline is probably the one I'm the most interested in
Yeah,
after
yeah,
playing
yeah.
14 weeks and then getting benched. And apparently he was not happy with it. So I don't know what we're going to see through his eyes. But even following Joe Burrow, putting up like league leading numbers in essentially every offensive category for quarterbacks while still not making the playoffs due to sort of like lack of defensive skill on the defensive side.
Seems like it's
Um,
gonna be that way for the next like 10 years for
it
them.
might be with the payments to Chase and Higgins there. Like there's just no room. But NFL. So
Uh,
it's a great production. Mahomes production company, 2 PM Productions, and then NFL Films and Peyton Manning's Omaha Productions run it. I love the first one. I think it's gonna be solid. Jared Goff will be cool too, just to see like Dan Campbell. Like any footage of him is awesome.
yeah.
But man, Detroit, just to watch Detroit again back to back. They saw Amon Ra in the receiver series when they lost in what was it um
They lost in
the
the
NFC
NFC. Yeah,
championship,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So just tough look, but it'll be fun. I'm excited to watch. I like the first season.
I I'm actually glad you brought that up because I thought it was interesting that Kirk Cousins agreed to actually go to that because it was just like
Mm-hmm.
why like he must really want people to see what's happening this year like he like because like in any other situation you would think like he doesn't want anyone to know what's happening, he wouldn't want to talk about it, but like
Well, the thing is, Justin, like you would assume he would have had to agree in the off season before last year. So he would assume I'm signed for 4 years, 160 million. I'm the guy. So yeah, follow my journey as I start in Atlanta. He probably didn't think that it would turn out the way it was. So, and at that point, you probably signed
wait was
contractually.
is it not for this upcoming season?
I'm pretty sure I thought it was for this past season, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, I thought it was for this upcoming season. Maybe I
I'm
read
pretty
it
sure it was the one
wrong.
that
Maybe
just
Oh,
I.
passed. I'd have to
when's
double
it
Oh,
coming
check.
out? When's it
yeah.
coming out again?
When I'll have
It did
to.
say I should probably have had those details to be quite
Ah, no
honest. But
worries, no
I know
worries.
when they announce it, normally it would be on the season that already came out, right? Because they would have had to all the footage and they would have had to show you all of the
Yeah,
trailer. If it's coming out this year, that would be a very weird timing for
yeah.
Kirk Cousins. I'll check while we go through the final
Imagine
second look.
a quarterback series where the quarterback doesn't
This July.
play
This July.
quarterback.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. This July. Kirk
it's coming
Cousins.
out this
Yeah,
July. Yeah, okay.
yeah.
So
I
yeah, it
was.
had to be
No,
last
I,
year.
I
That's
was like, I was just thinking, like, if it's this season upcoming, because like, I know they announced Brady Kachuk and like you Seth Jarvis for the Amazon
Yeah,
series, like that's still going on. So like, I was like, maybe this is for the upcoming season. I just didn't read the full thing. That was my
yeah.
bad.
No, all good, all
Um,
good.
My second look is Yurlev Slafkovsky. I have to fit in my Montreal Canadiens during this first 53 games this season before the Four Nations break, aka 8 goals, 30 points, pretty bad from the first overall pick. Last 11 games since the Four Nations, 6 goals, 11 points, 1 point per game. And you know what? He did say he needs to play more like Brady Kachuk. Well, he's got 42 hits to go along with that in the 11 games, and he's taken 32 shots, which before that he was taking less than a shot a game. So overall, incredible turnaround from Slavkovsky in the second half of this season. This is more like what we wanted, like as this first overall pick. Hopefully he can continue it. He's playing great on that top line. And I mean, I could have made Ivan Demidov the second look, considering what's
Hmm.
happening over there in the KHL. I personally don't think they should bring him over just because I'd much rather Demidov at 22 years old making $950,000 compared to probably the 10 point whatever contract he's going to sign. Um, anyway, that's our second look segment. I honestly think those are good second looks, guys. I don't know about
Yeah,
you guys.
touched on
Anyway,
most sports there.
I wrote down something in the rundown. It says new thing. Don't worry about this. Happy face though. Trust me. So did you guys trust me?
We have no choice.
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
leading us in this direction anyway. But yeah, we're in good hands.
All right. Okay, so we're gonna play a little bit of a game here on this little next part of the pod. We haven't done this before, but I figured it was fun. So I'm gonna give you for the first two games here we're gonna play. We're gonna give little player A, player B. Tell me which player you would rather. Okay. Okay, player. Okay, and I'll give you the sport. I'm not gonna give you the player.
Okay.
You just have to go off the stats, but I'm gonna give you the sport. So, and you're not gonna tell me. Sorry, to preface this, you're not gonna give me the player. You're not gonna guess who this is. You're just gonna tell me player A, I'd rather, or player B, I'd rather.
Hmm.
Okay,
NHL.
got you.
Player A, 26 games played, 13-8-3 record, 2.4 goals against average, 918 save percentage, 14.6 goals above expected. Got that?
Okay. Hmm.
Think so.
Player B, 36 games played, 24-12-0 record, 2.7 goals against average, 9 908 save percentage and 14 goals above expected. Which player would you rather take?
Hmm. Smaller sample size, but based on the numbers, I'm probably going player A. That'd be my suggestion.
Yeah, I think I would agree. Whether that player had the higher goals expected, I think, right? Like I think that
Goals expected, I think
14.6
we're
and
go ahead.
14 were the goals expected. Player A
Okay.
had
slightly higher.
14.6 and player B had 14.
Hmm.
Yeah, I would agree. I'd go with player A.
I also think I know who the goalies are, but I'm gonna let you enlighten us, Justin, if you
Yeah,
so choose to.
if you caught on to that, it was two goalies and both goalies play for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah.
Player A was Anthony Stolarz and player B was Joseph Wall. I know you guys said earlier on you would rather Joseph Wall play in the playoffs. Both of you guys just said that you would choose player A. Do you have
Yeah.
any like take on seeing the stats now?
I don't. I mean, to me, the stats have screamed Anthony Stolarz kind of all year. Joseph Wall, I think, has had a little bit of he stumbled a little bit and then has had a bit of a resurgence where Anthony Stolarz is kind of now in that slightly stumbly, manner. He's not by any means playing badly. Both goalies still, I would be comfortable with, but there is just something about Joseph Wall where it's like I want to see him get that game one and really give him his opportunity, and then hopefully if it doesn't work out, Stolarz is there to kind of pick up and maybe he can go on a run. Like that's how I envision it. But if you flip flopped it, who's to say which is better for me?
Yeah.
Right now,
I was just gonna say I'm gonna give our colleague Dave Leo from the hockey show a shout here. He had posted in our hockey show chat. He had a theory basically saying that Joseph Wall thrives when the other guy is down. Or the other guy isn't like chasing down his neck because you see Anthony Stolarz hasn't had the best couple of games, right? Like he's played fine, but anytime Anthony Stolarz is either injured or not playing well, Joseph Wall decides I'm going to put the team on my back and carry the team, much like last night against Colorado. Whereas if Anthony Stolarz is having himself a season, which was a lot of the case early on in the year, Joseph Wall wasn't necessarily playing up to his standards. I don't know if that's true. I want to throw that theory out there. It doesn't mean that's going to change for the playoffs and how they play, but I would go Stolarz, but you know what? Yeah, I think I'd be happy either way because they have the luxury of going back and forth if necessary.
Yeah.
So would you be shocked then if I told you Wall's start or he's played in 7 playoff games. He's had 4 starts. In those 7 playoff games, he has a 3-2 record, a 1.7 goals against average, and a 933 save percentage. Like
Yeah.
those numbers are insane. I think my theory is he rises to the occasion when the big games matter. If you go look
Hmm.
at the 2 big games recently that Anthony Stolar has played, 880 save percentage against Florida and an 875 save percentage against Ottawa, not going to cut it. Uh, and you can't fully blame Solars for those games because the Leafs didn't play great. But
Hmm.
those two, and then and then you go look at Wall's numbers last night. He puts on a master class against the
Yeah.
Colorado Avalanche because they come into town after beating the brakes off them last time. And then a couple, I think it was like right before Four Nations, I feel like, against the Edmonton Oilers. Like he stood on his head against the Edmonton Oilers in that game for Joseph Wall did. Uh, and yeah, like I think I'd more lean towards. I said Stolars before. I'm more leaning towards Wall at this point.
Yeah.
Uh, but moving on to our next one, NBA is the sport. Player A. Player A is averaging 18.1 points, 2.9 rebounds, 4.2 assists, is shooting 47% from the field and 40% from 3-point land.
Okay.
Player B is averaging 17.3 points, 3.4 rebounds, 3.6 assists, shooting 50% from the field, and has a 3-point percentage of 39.5. Which player would you rather?
I took notes this time because the numbers are tough for this guy over here. He's can't remember them all.
Just throwing them.
For me, I look at these numbers and I think I would probably they're very similar again. Like I think in the grand scheme of things, I would probably take the
I can't just give you like a gimme. Like, I can't just
no,
say
that's fair.
24 points and 5 points this guy's averaging. Like, which player would you rather?
No, I mean I would take probably player B, gives a little bit more across the board and a slight uptick in the field goal percentages can be huge sometimes in the NBA. So give me player B.
I agree. I like the percentages. When you come to playoff time, I feel like percentages go a long way. And if a guy can stay consistent, that's kind of what I'm looking for. So I'll go player B as well.
All right. Player A was Colin Sexton of the Utah Jazz. Player
Okay.
B was Bradley Beal of the Phoenix Suns. Kind of a, you know, disappointing season, to be honest, for
Yeah.
Bradley Beal's numbers. That's not the best, although he is shooting the ball pretty good. It's kind of expected when you have Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, I guess, on the team. But still, overall, good numbers. Uh, yeah, that does it for those two.
That was
Next,
good.
we're gonna go to a matchmaking game. Okay.
Ooh.
Okay. So if you've been paying attention to my Instagram, you guys might have a little bit of help with this. But salary cap matching game. We're gonna go 5 teams and their five like projected cap numbers going into the 2025-2026 season, okay?
Okay.
If you need to write this down, I'll let you write this down. Um, so the Chicago Blackhawks, the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Florida Panthers, the St. Louis Blues, and the Winnipeg Jets. 19 million, 9 million, 31 million, 29 or 27 million, and 37 million. Which team has that certain amount of cap space? And you guys can collaborate here and let me know. And yeah, don't I actually sent this game to Christian yesterday, and Christian, guy on Second Looks Hockey, and he did a typical Christian thing and just sat there and overthought it for 20 minutes and then like just said this game is bullshit, and yeah, that's basically what happened. But anyway, yeah, you guys let me know.
I go through the numbers. Just like what's the most number? Let's make it easy on
30,
ourselves.
I heard a
37,
37. Yeah.
Okay.
37, 31, 27, 19, and 9.
Okay, well, I mean, I think for me personally, I look
Go for
to
it.
The Blackhawks will, I think, are likely to have one of those 30 numbers. Can't tell you which one. I actually think the Winnipeg Jets as well, like might be in the middle sneakily because that market they don't typically pay guys a lot. Um, I think St. Louis might actually be one of the higher end on that scale. And then the Leafs might be somewhere in the middle just because a lot of their cap is undefined in terms of like Marner and Tavares. Next year, they're off the books. So what does that mean for them? They're going to likely have at least 22 million or whatever it is off the books there. So I'd say they could be sneakily up there too, Alex. What do you think?
Yeah, yeah. No, I like your thought process. I immediately off the bat thought Chicago with 37. I think
Let's
Florida is
Yeah,
very low.
lock in
let's
some
lock in
answer.
the
Okay,
Chicago at
And
37.
Chicago
I think
I'll
that
37.
makes
say
the
I'll
most
say
sense.
if you go 0 for 5, 1 for 5, whatever, and then we'll go
Yeah,
back
All
and
right, all
fix it.
right.
we'll start with
Well,
that. It was okay. You got Blues, Jets, Leafs, Panthers, right?
yeah.
As the other
Blues,
teams.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you want to go Leafs middle, Brandon? Like the what is it, like
What's
20
the second
something?
number? 31?
You had
31?
37, 31, 27, 19, and 9.
Yeah, I'm comfortable putting the Leafs at that 27 number, I
Yep.
think.
Let's go with that.
That makes, I think, some sense.
I
So
like
then
I like
that leaves,
Florida at the bottom. I feel like Florida
I
has the
agree.
9.
Yeah. They've got all their
Um
guys pretty much locked up, it feels like. Added Seth Jones contract, even though his number's pretty reduced. But like,
and there's
yeah,
been a
like,
lot of chatter of like they're not going to be able to sign Bennett and Ekblad. So I feel
that's a
like
good
there's some
point.
merit
Yeah.
to that, right?
Okay, let's do
And
that. So
then
that leaves Winnipeg and St. Louis.
yeah, and
Yeah,
you
yeah.
you said Blues higher, right? So I'm comfortable going with the 31 if that was where your head was at, but up to you where you
So
want to take
what's
this
our
one.
other money?
So
31 and
so
what?
you're saying Florida 9,
Yep.
Toronto
Yeah.
27,
Hmm.
Chicago 31 or 37, and you're saying St. Louis is going to be, you're saying those and the Winnipeg Jets are going to be 19, sorry, 19 million is left
Fourth
and 31 is
31.
left.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the exact players and who's going to be UFAs on both teams, but just
Ehlers,
because,
I know, is a big
right, that's a
UFA.
good point. Yeah.
So is Neil Pionk. So I don't know what that
Yeah, and I don't know
means.
that their cap is that high. Like I know St. Louis has had to pay. They did the offer sheets. They had space,
Yeah,
but I don't know who's coming off their books either, really. I'm not as dialed in on the West.
I know.
But I'm comfortable doing the Winnipeg at that fourth number and St. Louis I
Let's
think
do
at the
it.
19 or whatever. That could be
Let's
we'll
do
see
it.
where we end up.
All
Let's
right,
do it. So
so
to recap, Justin, just for the fans
Yeah,
out
go
there,
ahead,
we
take us
have
through.
37 Chicago, 31 million is St. Louis, 27 is the Leafs, 19 is the Jets, and 9 is Florida. That's our thought.
all right, you got
Or
1 out of 5.
1 out of 5.
You
All
got
Hey,
right,
one out of
start us
five.
off
You
it
got
is what it is.
Toronto.
in the
Well,
Do you
middle.
that
want
makes
to
sense. I think
do you
Okay,
want
that's the
do
team
you
we
want
follow as tightly
do
as
you
possible.
want
Yeah,
the rest, or do you guys want to try and switch or flip flop them and
So
try and figure it
Toronto was
out?
27, you
Toronto's
said.
27, and the four remaining teams you did not get correct.
Okay, then Florida's no more than probably like the 19, I
yeah,
think.
I
We'll move
think that's
them.
fine. Florida 19,
Maybe
Chicago
I don't know.
31.
That's tough. Maybe yeah,
They
Chicago
should have some time.
31. Maybe like Winnipeg, swap to what was St. Louis, or what was the other
30
You
number?
had
20.
St. Louis at 19 before, or
I
sorry,
guess.
31.
you had them at 31. Yeah, you had them at
Yeah, so
31.
maybe they're 19, and then Winnipeg's 9. I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
Okay, so
Yeah,
you
so
said Chicago 31.
yep.
That is
Yeah,
correct.
nice job,
Florida
Alex.
19. That is correct.
Okay.
And you said Winnipeg was 9 and St. Louis was 37.
37.
That is incorrect.
Flip flop.
Winnipeg
Okay.
is 37 million. They have the most on this list. And St. Louis is actually cap strapped in the situation, and they only have 9,
Interesting.
which is the
Right.
most surprising team on this list, considering you would think that team is not a situation where they're that cap strapped, but they are. And another number on the list is that's surprising is Toronto and Florida having so much cap space, considering, like you said, Seth Jones was already locked up. They are struggling to find way to keep Ekblad and Sam
Bennett.
Bennett on the team. So I don't know. Are you guys shocked by that? Like, was that
No,
good? Was that a good challenge?
Yeah, that was good. I
It
think
was
we were
good.
on the right track too. Like I think for the most part, we just had to flip-flop a few teams, and they were in the right area. But yeah, you're right. Like that was really fun to kind of
One
project
out
into
of
next year. Yeah.
1 out of 5 you got on the first attempt. That's not bad. That's not bad. I mean,
The
we're
one,
hoping for 2 out of 5, but
yeah,
Yeah.
the one that was the most surprising, probably we gave St. Louis a lot more credit. That's where I think we
yeah.
That's
probably
fair. Yeah.
and the Jets, I think we were like, oh, you did say they probably have a little bit
Yeah.
more
I
room,
thought you
and
got it right
I
away.
didn't
Like I
expect to be that high. Yeah. Holy.
yeah,
I thought you got it right away. Okay, two more games left on this little thing. Blind ranking number one centers on teams.
okay,
I'm gonna give you names, and I'm gonna give you the first name, and then you just have to tell me 1 through 5 where they go. We're gonna go Mark Scheifele.
wow,
Three. That's a
yeah,
good three, I think.
three.
Yeah.
We'll do this together, Brandon.
Yeah.
I'm gonna.
Let's do it.
I like three. He's having a great year, but on average, he is that three spot.
All right, Elias Pettersson.
Oh God, listen.
This is based on like right now or like
Yeah,
what we
yeah.
think
This
of.
is right
Okay.
now. This is right now. Like,
I put him four.
Four. Yeah.
all right, Dylan Strome.
Uh,
He might have to fit in that two spot just
I
because
think we
he's
have no
having a
choice.
fantastic year with the Caps. He's riding shotgun.
I know. I feel dumb putting him there, but like just based on like previous, but right now, man, Caps are President's
Yeah.
trophies right now. So what are you gonna do? Or at least they're tied for it. So two.
Okay, so you have Strome, Scheifele, Strome at 2, Scheifele at 3, Elias Pettersson at 4, and Macklin Celebrini goes where?
Oh,
I think
five, just
I'm
based on
comfortable putting him
numbers.
at five, not because he's a
Yeah.
terrible player, but because of that list, he's the least established. There you go.
Yep.
Like
So
that
Yep.
you guys are
works.
really banking a number one to come through here for you.
I've
I
been
hope
waiting
so,
for
man.
the big boy, right? Who's it gonna be?
Braden Point.
Okay,
Okay.
perfect. Number one,
Okay.
easy.
I'll take that.
I don't
I like
mind your
that.
guys' list,
I like
except
that
for I
list.
think Scheifele goes number 2 over Dylan Strome 100%.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, you guys did pretty good on that. I'm really shocked. Good job.
Oh man.
And the final game, not even sports related, but we're gonna do another blind ranking. I hope
Okay.
you guys enjoy movies because we
What if we
have
All
some.
haven't
right.
seen any of these movies?
I sure hope that you have.
Hopefully between the two of us we have.
That's fair. I think that makes sense.
I think that you guys have. Anyway,
Okay.
this is related to a little Happy Gilmore coming out later. So we're gonna
Nice.
blind rank Adam Sandler movies.
Nice.
All right, all
So
right.
right off the hop, let's go longest yard.
Is it five again? Top
Five,
like that.
five.
Yeah. I mean, I do like that movie a lot. Like, I think it's a really fun, especially like in the sports world. Like, I'm gonna guess there's some better ones than that. I think that'd be like a strong four
I
for
think we'll
me.
do separate for this one, Brandon, because like it's more
I'm down.
opinion based.
Okay.
But I would also
No,
put
no, no. You guys
longest
can't do separate. You gotta come together here and you gotta
film
talk this
taste.
out. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay,
You
you know
gotta.
what? I was gonna put longest yard at four anyway, so it's actually funny
All
you
right.
said
We'll
that.
see
I
if we
thought it was
can
good, but I was thinking
come
four.
together on these.
I
Let's go.
agree.
We'll
Let's do it.
start
But
at
I would say
four.
four as well. Yeah.
All right, number 2 or like the second name, Grown Ups.
That
I
might
like
be a
Grown
strong.
Ups.
That might be a two for me too. Yeah, like I
Two,
don't know.
dude. It's
Yeah.
a two.
I think
Yes.
that's where it
Grown
goes.
Ups is
Great, a lot
two.
of great other, obviously other actors in that as well.
All right,
Yeah,
so
it's a
Grown Ups,
classic.
Grown Ups at number 2, Longest Yard at number 4, Hustle is the third movie on the list here.
So I'm gonna refer to Alex on this one. I actually haven't seen Hustle
Okay.
with your boy from what was his name? He played for the Raptors, right?
Her
Jose
Yeah,
or Hernan Gomez or
yeah,
Hernan
Hernan
Gomez.
Gomez.
yeah.
Good movie. Good movie. But like just based on the amount of movies he's done, like I could see it going five. And it's a sports movie. I guess so far everything has been grown ups, not really, but still. Yeah, I put it at five only because I feel like
I
it's
will
the
tell
movie
you
people have seen it the least.
that's the only sports movie remaining on this list.
I still
Okay.
think five because it was
Okay.
solid, but like the rewatchability on it is not as much as Longest Yard and Grown Ups for sure.
All
No,
right,
I'm
so
comfortable with that.
Hustle
Let's
at
go.
5. Okay. Happy Gilmore, the first one.
I
Do we
mean,
do it,
so
Brando? What do you
I mean,
think?
for me, like to me, this is one of his best like movies of all time. Like
Mhm.
I don't have any problem putting it number one. I don't know what Justin's got up his sleeve. But I think for me, like this, I would have no problem putting this at number one. And then you have a good one,
Yeah.
two with Grown Ups, a third. You can kind of say you got a good trifecta. So
Yeah.
let's do it.
Let's do one because he could throw like a "That's My Boy" at us. I haven't even seen it, but I heard it's like a horrible film. So
Not
let's
number
go
one.
one.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
classic. Happy Gilmore. What do you got for us for three, Justin?
I got That's My Boy for
Oh,
You
good
three.
guy.
kidding me?
Love
No
that.
way, dude.
That's
That's awesome.
amazing. That's
Yes.
amazing.
If we had that one, I
I
think we'd have to quit doing
I
podcasts
don't know.
altogether.
Yeah. It's a
That's
good
I
My
heard
movie,
it
Boy
was
but
is a
bad.
really good
yeah.
movie. That's My Boy
Really?
is really good.
I heard it was bad. I've never seen it.
I've watched that. It's really good. Like it's
Okay.
like an Adam Sandler funny though. It's like
Okay.
Yeah. It has its moments.
yeah, it's like a raunchy funny movie. It's not like a Hustle or Longest Yard type thing. It's and not even Grown Ups. Like it's more so raunchy. But
Okay. Okay.
overall, I think you guys did great on those. I don't know. Did you guys
That
enjoy
was good.
this? Did you guys
That
enjoy
was
this?
fun.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was good. Good to test some of those memories of what you like.
That
That was
was
Yeah.
fun.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll go on to things that are happening in the sports world that might not be on the biggest topic right now. The MLB regular season technically has started. It started in Tokyo, Japan. The Dodgers swept the first two games, winning 6-1 and 4-3. And what do you know? Shohei Ohtani hits a home run in the second game. Or 4-1, 6-3. Sorry, it was backwards. I got it. Yeah, so just any quick thoughts on I know the regular season still hasn't technically started, but in retrospect it has. Do you guys have any thoughts on the first two games? I know that there was 25 million viewers in Tokyo,
Oh,
and that's
nice.
the most ever by an MLB game since um 2017 World Series. So, and that was just in Tokyo alone. So
Hmm.
that's kind of crazy to me that those numbers came out of that game, which just shows you how big baseball is in that country. But
Huge.
yeah, your guys' thoughts just quickly on the start of the regular season.
I just had the one thought. I think the first game was I don't remember who pitched for the Cubs, but it was Yamamoto for the Dodgers.
Oh
I think it was
yeah,
the
he
first
was.
time
Yeah.
two Japanese pitchers
It
started
was
opening day.
Oh yeah,
Um,
Shohei.
Imanaga or
Yeah,
Shota.
Imanaga.
yeah, yeah, that's
Yep.
who it was. I thought that was cool. I just thought that was cool. Otani, obviously, I don't know if you mentioned it there. I may have missed that lead up, Justin, but I know we had hit dinger on the second day. He's all the way back, as if anyone was surprised. I think it's going to be fun.
He's all the
Uh,
way back. Doesn't homer in the first game, and buddy's going. We're
that's
not. He's not.
that's
He's not worth 70 million. He's not. He's not worth that. He's just.
I'm
He's
down
done.
down on Otani after game one. He's back game two.
I mean, when it comes to the
Uh,
Tokyo thing, the only thing that really bothered me was that it's so far removed from the rest of the regular season. Like, I
Mm.
understand they give these guys time to come back, I think, and prepare for
yeah,
I guess
that's
the rest of opening day. But I think, as I think about it more, it'd be great if they could, like, if they could take more teams over and make it more of an event. You know, two games is great, but, like, why not take, like, a whole division, five or six teams, make it like a week where they just play back and
it's
forth.
a
They do a
really
couple
good
series,
idea. It's a
and then
really good
it kind
idea.
of builds more interest. But I understand the logistics are tough. It just like it'd be great to see them take another step forward as opposed to like we know all these leagues do one or two games, you know, often, and it's just one of those things. But it'd be great to see them, especially like they seem like they're almost desperate for that money to kind of
Yeah.
go and put in the investment to really continue to grow the game there. But other than that, like yeah, it's good to see baseball getting going. I'm excited for next week, and we'll see what comes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next up, Happy Gilmore 2. We did the blind rankings for Adam Sandler. Did you guys watch the trailer? It officially dropped and it's coming this July, I believe, the movie
Yep.
on Netflix. What do you guys think of the trailer?
I mean, I thought it was really fun. I thought it's going to be cool to see all the new versions of the cameos they used to do in the old in the 90s when the Bob Barker and all these guys in the original movie. Now you got guys like Scotty Scheffler and stuff. Some of these PGA pros in the trailer. Should be really fun to see those cameos. So cool to see some of the original characters and kind of replay or have some more fun with the Happy Gilmore character. So I'm excited for that.
Do you
Agreed.
guys do you guys plan on watching Happy Gilmore now again? The first one?
Sure. Like I've no I'm not opposed to it.
Sure.
I have no opposed. I'm
I
not
just meant
opposed to it at
like
all.
did like like sometimes when you see a trailer for a sequel, it makes you want to go back and rewatch the first one.
Yeah.
Like, did that make you guys like, okay, I gotta rewatch Happy Gilmore before like Happy Gilmore 2 comes out?
Yeah, like I'll definitely check it out again before the new one comes out just to kind of a refresh and just like it's always a good, I think, a fun little activity to kind of go through an original or a previous version of a movie and then watch the
Yeah.
new one. You can compare and it brings you back, kind of keeps you in that world. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Next up on the list, we have a little Dallas Cowboys beef after DeMarcus Lawrence signed with the Seattle Seahawks for 3 years, $42 million. Him and Micah Parsons got into it on Twitter. Pretty heavy exchange. Anyway, what do you guys think of the whole situation? Basically, uh, Demarcus Lawrence ended the conversation with saying, "If you didn't tweet as much as what you did, maybe we'd have a better chance of winning." Your guys' take on it, Brandon. I'll let you go first because you're smiling over there like
no, I
something's.
mean, I just think that I think DeMarcus Lawrence knew what he was doing a little bit when he took that shot on TV, I think it was. And it was clearly he had a problem with just the organization and how they're handling things. And good for Mike Parsons to kind of step up and push back a little bit, but there's really not much to stand on. I think it's just one of those things that to me, if it's something or nothing, it's much of a nothing. They're not even going to play each other this year, so what does it matter, right?
Yep, yep.
Yeah, I want more of this beef, more of this for the NFL, more of this for sports. I want more of it. You know what? I'm more on Lawrence's side here because it seems like he clearly didn't like Micah Parsons before this take. Like it wasn't like this came out of nowhere. Micah Parsons, to be fair, he's very loyal to the Cowboys. He said in the past, like we're winning here, like no question. I don't see a single sign that points to the fact that they would be able to, especially in that division now with
Uh,
Jaden Daniels and the Eagles. But
Yeah.
credit to him. But DeMarcus Lawrence, I loved it. I loved it because it's just we need more of this to kind of stir up controversy and get people excited.
I agree. I agree, and I think he also did say he didn't see himself winning a Super Bowl in Dallas, and that's the main reason why he left.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The only thing is, why do you go to Seattle then? Like, where do you
true.
see Seattle going to win a Super Bowl? That's the thing that didn't sit well with me. If I was Micah
With it.
Parsons, I would have shot back with that. Like, and you really went to Seattle to win? Like that's not a team that's gonna win.
Yeah.
Uh, but anyway, next thing on the list, the Masters. I know we're under a month away. Alex loves golf. Bigger golfer than what I am. He put this in here, and there's a tease for the Masters that I'm seeing.
Yes, the only thing I wanted to mention is just watch it for anybody who out there who hasn't. I think it's on the Masters Twitter. I know Ryan Whitney from Spit and Chicklets like reposted it. It's just such a good promotion for the Masters as if it needed it. But it was basically like the narration was like of basically the Masters in like a human form, being like, I've seen it all, like grown men crying the course, like old people acting like kids again. But like every April, like I don't like ever. I always think about it. Like I haven't seen everything, and being like, oh my god, it's gonna be so exciting. So I'm just kind of pumped to watch it as I am every year. I also have Scotty Scheffler's menu for
Yeah,
the
yeah, I saw
club
that came
Yeah.
dinner.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh my god, just some of the food on this list. We won't go through the whole thing, but this is exactly what I would want to eat if for the night prior to the Masters. Just pure American dinner. I'm all for it.
yeah.
No,
Scotty's very basic. I can see
Very, yeah,
that.
that's fine by me.
yeah, and that's the thing with Scotty too is like I think going into this, I think all eyes will be on him and of course Rory McIlroy. Like those are the two guys for me that
Yeah.
if I had to pick, I'd love to see them win. Obviously Scotty again, and Rory would be for the first time. But it's going to be kind of tough without Tiger. That's the only thing that I wish he had been able to get ramped up and get there. But
Hmm.
obviously, with his most recent injury, we're not going to see him for a bit. So that's the one drawback. But the Masters, it's like it's perfect to start, kind of for me at least. It feels like the start to the golf season and really gets you feeling like the spring is there. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, it's the biggest biggest major on the PGA Tour.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure we get Bryson in that match as well. DeChambeau, who won the U.S. Open last year, and then Xander
Hmm.
Schauffele, who won two majors last year as well. Final thing though, before we head out, back to a little bit of hockey. Sidney Crosby passed Wayne Gretzky for the fourth most all-time points with a single team at 1,600 or 1,670. Pretty remarkable stuff. To close this show out, do you think that he's gonna beat Gordie Howe's 1,809 points with a single franchise?
He has not had a season where he's had
Under a
less than
point
a
per
point
game, yeah.
per. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if that continues, he's signed for another 2 years after this at least. So I think 2 years is what does it. What, like, just based on math, 1670. Yeah, that'd be what, like 140 points. So if he continues at that point per game pace, which, man, that in itself, if he could just do that for the next 2 years, like, he's A, catch him, and B, like, I don't know how you can't give him
I think
top four.
2K is in the switch in the conversation.
It's probably farther than it is closer, Justin, but I
don't
like
know. I
the
don't know. I
thought.
don't know.
That's just me.
No,
We didn't think Ovechkin would beat Gretzky,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
think it's in reach. The Gordie Howe numbers in reach for sure.
Yeah, if Sid can play a couple more years, and even if his numbers do come down a little bit, he just has to keep building, and then hopefully he can get to, he's going to go as high as he can, and it'll be that. But I think he'll definitely catch Howe, and he'll just keep plugging away and until he can keep hitting those milestones, right? So
I think
I'm excited.
I think he'll pass Howe, and then I think once that contract plays out, I think that's when he's gonna leave and go to Colorado. I really do. I don't like. There's no way that they're not playing together. There is no way that they're not playing together. And like unless they like somehow the Pittsburgh Penguins figure out a way to replicate what the Washington Capitals have done, it's not going to happen. Like they're going to go through a rebuild, and that's not going to be what Sidney Crosby needs to do in order to win the Stanley Cup. So that's where we're at. But anyway, a remarkable achievement for Sidney Crosby to wrap out this show. And that just about does it here for us at Second Look Sports. We hope you enjoy episode 14 of the podcast. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube. Make sure you do like, subscribe, everything. Follow along there, and we'll see you next time on the Second Looks podcast.